You know when you're in a crowd, a football crowd of great emotional excitement, you feel like a charge of energy. The hair stands up on your neck. That's electromagnetic. They're electromagnetic fields. So that's what I was feeling. But it did feel like a spider's web on my face. And I said nothing to Betty, but I'm thinking, what the hell? And then about 10 or 15 seconds later, she reels her head back and she said, my God, this is powerful. I've got to close my eyes for this one. And my bum's for going further down the... What have you got yourself into here, Icke? And she starts telling me in March 1990 that I'm going to go out on a world stage and reveal great secrets. I would face enormous opposition, but they, whatever that is, would always be there to protect me. And that there was a shadow over the world, and there was a story that needed to be told, that humanity was going to go through a phase of waking up and coming out of basically its coma, which is programming, and that I was going to go out and do that. One man cannot change the world, but one man can communicate the message that can change the world, was one of the things she said. And I'm sitting there, I'm a television presenter for the BBC, I'm a national spokesman for the Green Party, and I'm thinking, what are you talking about? and so I then leave her and get on a train. She lived near Essex in Sussex, or in Essex actually, and then I drove up or went up in the train to present a television program. But from that moment on, one of the things that was said, that she said, because she said, the first thing she said, she had no idea about this interaction in the Kensington Hilton. She's saying that they're telling me they know you wanted them to contact you, but the time wasn't right, and you know now you've been brought here to be contacted, and they said they're saying that you're going to be led to knowledge, and at other times knowledge will be put into your mind. Oh, all right, okay, what? So anyway, what I've been like, mate, all my life is I've never dismissed things that I can't know absolutely are not true. I have this policy, I put things on the back burner and I see what comes. And if more information comes to support it, there comes a point where there's so much information supporting that it crosses the line, and you start to say, okay, I accept this is what's happening. But I don't just dismiss things, and never have, on the basis that they're different, just being the way I've always been. Yeah, it was, and one of the things was that it was going to be tough, and so when I left her house and got on with my life, very, very quickly, synchronicity, coincidences started to occur, where I'd meet people, come across information, come across books, come across documents, whatever, that were starting to hand me puzzle pieces. And I started to realize, as it built up and it built up and it built up, that actually the world was not like I thought it was. Well, not like I thought it was. I didn't really have a view on that. I never did believe that politicians around the world. I always felt there was something else.
Perspective is a word that seems very simple, but I think it's very powerful. It's very easy to get seduced into making something small a lot larger than it is. And perspective simply reminds us to go to 50,000 feet on a bad day and count our blessings. Perspective simply reminds us that things could be a lot worse. Perspective on a bad day is simply understanding that we live in a world where half the world's population lives on less than $2.50 a day. Perspective on a bad day is reminding yourself of that Persian proverb which says, I cursed the fact I had no shoes until I saw the man who had no feet. Perspective is such a powerful word. Here's a great question on a bad day to bring on some perspective. Has anyone died here? So Perspective is something I really want you to think about, and on a bad day, it will actually allow you to turn the lead into gold and really pivot. Which brings me to the second P of turning a bad day into a great day, and it's pivot. And here's the question to really help you pivot. WTOH. What's the opportunity here? So you're having a bad day, maybe you had a fight with someone, maybe you lost the big sale, maybe someone cut you off in traffic and then you didn't get your favorite lunch, and then you missed getting into Soul Cycle class, and then you had a difficulty on the way home. So let's say that's happening. You simply run the WTOH question, which will allow you to pivot. WTOH, what's the opportunity here? See, there's great power in a question, and it allows your brain to hunt for something good. And so how do you pivot? You ask yourself, what's the opportunity here? You have a fight with someone, let's say one of your family members. You say, what's the opportunity here? Well, your brain then starts to look for the opportunity, which is, I can learn how to communicate better. Or this is an opportunity for me to show forgiveness and grow in my personal bravery. This is an opportunity for me to understand my family member better. It's a great and powerful question. Which brings me to my third P in turning a bad day into a great day. And it's really pharmacy. The third P is pharmacy. And that's all about moving. When I have a difficult day, here's one of the first things I do. I will get on my mountain bike and I will ride like a bat out of wherever through the forest, and that releases dopamine in my brain, which is the neurotransmitter of inspiration. And that releases serotonin. Moving right on the bicycle, it releases serotonin, which is the pleasure neurotransmitter. And it cuts down on my cortisol, which is the fear hormone. So just simply going for a mountain bike ride, or going for a swim, or getting into yoga class, or something as simple as going for a walk, or maybe even doing jumping jacks when no one's looking, will create a pharmacy of mastery within your brain, which will affect your psychology, your neurobiology, and your interior life, which makes you just feel a lot better.
You need to feed your mind. Now, a lot of times people say, yeah, you know, when I'm down in the dumps just a little bit, I really enjoy listening because it gives me a lift. Well, I'm glad to hear that, but let me give you the most surprising news maybe you've ever heard. It's good to listen when you're down. But folks, the ideal time to listen is when you're sky high. Let me tell you why. When you're down, sometimes you grab at straws, and sometimes you grab the wrong straw. Also, a lot of times, and here's the real benefit to listening, it triggers your imagination, stirs up all of the stored information which you already have in your mind, and a lot of the good ideas then come forth. But if you're too down to accept them, then you turn away the very best ideas of all. Listen when you're up. And then with those endorphins popping, and they do pop as a result of listening to good motivational recordings, when you listen then and new ideas pop in your mind, it generates even more excitement. Here's what we've discovered. You need to listen at least 16 times to get the complete message. That's the reason I say listen to this over 16 times, because you will get all of it then. It will become a part of you. Let me say it again. You probably have been in the process of making decisions right now. As you listen, you will make those decisions. But as you listen over and over, the decision changes to commitment. And once you've made the commitment, then you will seek the training which will make the difference, because that means behavior changes. And when you change behavior, then you start developing winning habits. And that's what this is really all about. Step number 7, if you want to build a winning attitude, you need to take time, and this is probably going to surprise you based on what you've heard me say so far, but you need to take time to be quiet. You know, the average American sleeps 30 minutes too late. every day. And when that opportunity clock does sound off, they hit the floor, I mean, in a dead run. They scoot past the kiddies' room on the way to the kitchen. They bang on the door, and they say, "Get up, kids, we got to go to school. Now, I don't have to tell you again. We were late yesterday morning. Don't want it to happen again." And they scoot on back to the kitchen. They plug in the coffee maker and the toaster, and on the way back by the kids' room, they bang again. Now, what I tell you, not going to have to tell you again. They scoot in, they get dressed real fast. You know, they shave and apply their makeup, and by then the kids are up. They rustle them into the den, and they set a bowl of cereal in front of them, turn the television set on, running their mind and their body all at the same time. They gulp their breakfast down, they hop in their car, and woe be to that person who dares to pull in on them when they've got the traffic jump on them. I mean, it will be too bad for them if they do. They hustle down, they drop their kids out, they rush on down to their work, and they're busy all day, and in the evening they come home and repeat that process, and by the time they get ready for bed, after watching 3.5 hours of television, they are exhausted.
Hi, welcome back to Mind Control, where we inspire and motivate you. Hope you enjoy the video.
Are there any responsible people left in the world today who take on responsibility? People who feel responsible. People who have the responsibility to the point that you're looking back and you're checking around. What are you doing? Where are you doing? Who are you talking to? What's going on in your life? Responsible people will get on your nerves. Oh, yes. Responsible people will hold you accountable. Responsible people will ask you questions. You don't get to grunt at me and go to your room. I want to know what's going on. Responsibility. Don't have nothing you're not going to take care of. Don't have anything that you're not willing to invest in. Don't have anything that you're not going to focus on, because you are accountable for whatever God has given you. You're accountable for it. Stop asking God for stuff you're not going to take care of. You don't need a house, you don't need a car, you don't need a child, you don't need a man, you don't need a woman, you don't need anything that you're not going to take care of. Everything you bring into your life requires something of your life. You say you don't have time to raise no man, and I don't have no time to be raising no woman. Then don't get one. Don't get one. I don't have time for these children. Don't have one. I don't want to change the oil in the car. Don't buy one. I don't want to change the tires. Don't have a car. Everything you have requires something of you. What you have with you is more important than where you're going. I understand you got goals. I understand you got plans for 2021. I understand you got strategies. I understand you got purpose. I understand you got vision. But what you have with you is better and more important than where you are going. And if you lose what you got going after what you want, I said, if you lose what you got going after what you want, your feast is going to turn into a disaster. What good is it to have a feast if it costs what I got going after what I want? That's what's wrong with us. Too many unscrupulous people are willing to sacrifice what you have to get what you want. The Bible says it this way: what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul?
Don't compromise, don't sell out. There were some things I went for back in those early years that I paid too big a price for. If I'd have known how much it was going to cost me, I never would have paid, but I didn't know. Don't sell out. Ancient phrase says, count costs, count costs. An ancient story says, Judas got the money. You say, well, that's a success story. No. It's true, 30 pieces of silver in those days was a sizable fortune. You say, well, if a guy's got a fortune, right, that's a success story. No, you don't understand. His name was Judas. Doesn't that ring a bell? Judas. You say, oh, yes, Judas, the traitor. That's right. The traitor got the money. Doesn't that change the story? And the answer is, of course, it changes the story. Interestingly enough, after Judas gets the money from becoming a trader, he's got the money in his hot little hand, and now he's unhappy. Somebody says, well, if you had a fortune, how could you be unhappy? Well, he wasn't unhappy with the money. He was unhappy with himself. Key phrase, the greatest source of unhappiness is self-unhappiness. The greatest source of unhappiness doesn't come from outside. The greatest source of unhappiness comes from inside. And here's where the erosion starts, doing a little less than you could. So don't let that happen. Judas is unhappy. He says, what'll I do? He says, oh, I'll just take the money back. Walked in where he got the money and said, here, take this money, I'm unhappy. They said, heck with you, Judas. We got what we wanted. You got what you wanted. Out. They threw him out with his money. Judas says, well, what'll I do now? He says, oh, clever. Should have thought of this first. I'll just throw the money away. And he proceeded to throw his fortune away. Why would he throw his fortune away? He was so unhappy with himself. That's not even the end of the scenario. After he threw his fortune away, he couldn't change what he became, a traitor. And now, in total abject frustration, he goes out and hangs his worthless self, which all traitors should do, save the state. Why such a tragic end? Because he was so unhappy with himself. He sold out. He sold out. He paid too big a price. Ancient script sums it all up. It said, what if you gained the whole world and it cost you your soul? Too big a price to pay if you got the whole world. Don't sell out. Don't compromise your values. Don't compromise your virtues. Don't compromise your philosophy. Here's the key word, beware. If Judas could speak back, he'd probably say, beware. Beware. Don't sell out. Mark well what you become in pursuit of what you want. But I'm inspiring you, hopefully, to set the kind of goals that will transform your life. Make you far better than you are, far stronger than you are.
What does it mean for you to advance economically if you lose your soul? What does it mean for you to end up running the business if you lose your soul? What does it mean to have a bigger house if you lose your soul? What does it mean to collect more degrees if you lose your soul? I want you to value what you have, not just what you're going to. But we have an age of people that have no appreciation for what they have. They're so excited about where they're going that they have lost sight of what they have. They fall into the fallacy of failure of reasoning, which makes an argument invalid. They had a failure of reasoning, that this is more important than that. Somebody is wrestling with a decision, and the Lord sent me here to tell you that this is more important than that. What you got right now is better than anything you're trying to go after in your life. It may not look good right now. It may not seem valuable right now. It may seem unimportant right now. It may not seem consequential. It may not seem relevant. It may not seem majestic. It may not seem central to what you're trying to create in your life. But give it some time. What has God placed inside of you that you don't think is particularly important because you have evaluated it premature and created a fallacy? Because what God has given you needs time to grow up. It needs time to grow up. Despise not the day of small beginnings. But it's going to grow. It's going to grow. What God has given you is going to grow. It's going to grow, not just to bless you, but to bless you and your children and your children's children and your children's children's children. I heard somebody in the spirit say, it's too late for me, I'm too old. Baby girl, it ain't about you. What God has for you is going to affect generation after generation after generation after generation. So endure whatever you got to endure. endure it. I spent 10 years of my life driving over an hour back and forth to pastor 20 people, 10 people for 10 years, an entire decade. Nobody called me to be on CNN or CBN or TVN or NNN or ANN or nothing. 10 years! For 10 years, I scuffled, struggled, and it would have been easy to throw up my hands and say, this doesn't work. What have you got? That's gonna be amazing. But you're trying to rush the process, and you don't understand that God had a plan for your life. And it may have even included you going through a period of abandonment to create a thirst in you for God in a way that you would not otherwise have that thirst for Him. You have to be able to translate the bad into good, the oil into fire, the pain into purpose. You have to be able to translate it, but some people get stuck in the pain of it and they never get to the power and the purpose of it, and they can't translate it.
We'd like to thank you so much for watching till the end. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section. Please also like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends and families. Please watch our other motivational videos. Thank you again.
We have a tendency to think that a new date and a new year and a new decade ensures a new you. But the reality is, it is not the ticking of a clock that brings about the transformative power. It is not as though God waited on a particular day and said, if you make it past this date to a new calendar date, I swear I'm going to bless you. No, it's not that simple. The truth of the matter is, change does not come easy.
It's very hard. And you have to challenge yourself to discipline your mind, to just focus on what are the most important things that you need to do right now in the midst of it. Number one, to fortify yourself mentally and emotionally, to develop a level of mental resilience, because there's so many unexpected things every day.
I know a couple things about New Year's Day, and I know a couple things about the new year. One is, it's going to go real fast. Number two is, it's a new chance, a new beginning. So I would encourage you today to set aside a few minutes, look at your life, make a couple of New Year's promises and resolutions to yourself, ones that have high ideals, ones that'll make you better, and start this new beginning, this fresh start today on the right foot.
And so it shows a state of mind that many people are facing as a result of the coronavirus. So it's focusing one's mind. We can't control the thoughts that come in our minds, but we can control the thoughts that we dwell on.
Change does not come easy. Now, this is going to be tough to hear because it is antithetical to what you are used to hearing. You're used to hearing spin around 3 times and God's gonna break it. 5 ways to have a great marriage and 3 ways to start your life over, and eat this and you'll drop 100 pounds, and take this pill and you'll be back able to get into the dress you wore to the prom. But the truth of the matter is, a day of not eating at Wendy's doesn't constitute a diet, and you're not going to be transformed easily or quickly.
If nothing ever prevented you from being the best version of yourself, nobody told you you were limited, you had never failed at anything, and you know you wouldn't fail going forward, what would you dream? How big would your dreams be?
Gratitude in advance is the most powerful and creative force in the universe. The quote reads, "Be grateful for all things because all things have contributed to your advancement. Therefore, all things should be included in your gratitude," right? Wins and losses, opposition, adversity, challenges, right? Stages and phases, right? Lessons and blessings. And for most of us, 2020, it was a year of pain. It was a year of people look back on it like, man, I can't find nothing to be grateful for. But the ability to learn is a gift, even when pain is our teacher, right? And as we move into 2021, I think the thing that we must always be cognizant of is painful endings always lead to new beginnings.
Those who study trends in corporate America suggest that in order to change, not the building, you can change the building quickly, not the name, you can change the name legally and quite proficiently, but to change the culture of an organization is quite difficult. The invisible aesthetics and accoutrements that go along with an entity is difficult to change. Most experts suggest that 1 to 3 years at a minimum to change the culture of an organization. You can change the wallpaper. Changing the culture of a marriage is not easy. I have been doing marital counseling for 43 years. And let me tell you something. By the time you see most couples, the culture of the marriage is so baked in that nobody will listen at anybody because everybody on both sides think they are right. And yet they come for change and they walk away without change, because change doesn't come because you come to my office. Change doesn't come because you took a diet pill. Change doesn't come because you lifted up a barbell for a week. Change doesn't come because you hired a new CEO. Change doesn't come because you changed the name of the entity. Change doesn't come because you dyed your gray hair blonde. Change doesn't come because you shaved your head off and put on an earring. Real substantive change that changes you at the core is difficult to attain.
I've been thinking about gratitude lately and why it's such an important and powerful state of awareness. When you have gratitude, you are holding on to a particular sort of awareness. It's a powerful and transformative awareness. And what's more is that you don't have to do anything to get it. You don't have to buy it or work for it. You just have to live it. I like something John F. Kennedy said once about gratitude. He said, as we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter the words, but to live by them. But how do you do that? How do you live a life of gratitude when you are too busy trying to live? I have enough sense to be grateful when the big things happen. When the growth they found and took 6 days to test wasn't cancer after all. I have enough sense to be grateful when my bonus was a lot more than I thought it would be. The big things make us pause and reflect. Then we say, whew, thank goodness. But you forget about the small things. You forget how to live in gratitude for the small things. You forget about your warm house. Or if your house isn't warm, you forget about the fact that you have a roof over your head. And if you don't have a roof over your head, you forget about the fact that your heart is still beating. You forget about the people who make you laugh and who make you feel validated or loved. You know, hearing myself say that, these aren't really small things. They are things you take for granted so they become small and you start noticing them.
Don't allow the pull to pull you down. And where you just give up and let go and give up on your dream and your hope and your position and your posture and all of the things that God has done into your life, and you fall into the abyss of your base nature and let it just drive you further and further down. Who knows how far down gravity would pull you if Earth were not in the way? How far down is down, we don't know. All we know is that there is a law that by nature pulls us down. And we have to fight to think up, to live up, to pray up, to walk up, to do the right thing, to forgive people, to be balanced, to discipline ourselves. It's an ongoing battle. But the battle is a blessing. I want you to understand, I want to encourage somebody that's in the fight right now, that the fact that you're in the fight is a sign that you've been changed because you didn't used to fight it.
But again, how do you live a life of gratitude? Maybe the question isn't how, but why? Why live a life of gratitude? I think the answer has to do with selfishness. See, I don't mean selfish with a small s. That's when you care about yourself at the expense of everyone else. No, I mean selfish with a big S. That's when you care about yourself so deeply that your care extends to everyone else. Put yourself first. Give yourself an advantage. How do you feel? If I said you could feel revivified and empowered, you would want more of it. Remember, you're being selfish. So if I said you could feel more connected and more compassionate, you would want more of it. You want more of it because gratitude is another expression of love. How do you feel when you are grateful? You feel like you are not going through life alone. You feel as though someone or somebody is with you. You feel connected to something other than you. You feel cared about. And when you feel cared about, you care about. Don't just think about it, be about it. Gratitude isn't just about thank you. It's not the word. It's not just about the feeling. Gratitude is about living the feeling. Live the life of gratitude.
Some of us have lulled our desire to change to sleep, and we are satisfied just to be stabilized. And when you are around people who see success merely as stability, it is quite frustrating because they resist the propensity to change, and they will fight you off if you try to change because they think survival is success. But the reality is, I'm the kind of person is I don't want to soak up sunshine, drink water, and breathe air and stay the same way I was at 40 that I was at 20. I want to learn something. I want to grow somewhere. I want to increase in some area of my life. I want to be able to have quantifiable results. I resist people who waste my time. Yes, I resist you. I resist you. I resist you. I make war with you. I come against you. I would rather you waste my money than waste my time. I can get some more money, but I can't get some more time. Do not waste my time.
So we can't even deal with what's fair. But he's stuck in the fact that it's not fair. I don't deserve that. They were wrong. I used to be a state legislator in Columbus, Ohio. During the break, we used to go out on the front lawn of the Ohio legislature at the Capitol there and observe people as they came by. There was one particular person that all of us knew. The children, adults, everybody used to pick at him when he came by. We called him Chicken Man. He had a feather in his hat. He had a toy chicken on top of his car that he would drive around the area in downtown, blinking his lights and occasionally blowing his horn. When he got out of his car, he would walk downtown with a baby carriage with two little baby dolls in there and a picture of a woman. And when you say something to him or came near him, you would hear him making the sounds of a chicken. All of us used to laugh at Chicken Man. We didn't know Chicken Man's story. Chicken Man woke up one morning around 3 a.m. and his house was on fire. He panicked and he got out of the window and left quickly, only to get outside to hear his children and his wife screaming for help. He ran back to the door to go in to save them, and the flames were too hot, too awesome. He tried to get in, he couldn't get in. He was desperate, frantic. Pretty soon the cries stopped. They perished in the fire. His brother-in-law came, found out that his sister had died and his nieces in the fire, grabbed Chicken Man and started beating him. You chicken, why did you save my sister? You're chicken, you're chicken. When the people pulled him off, Chicken Man, they picked him up and said, are you all right? And Chicken Man looked at him and he started making the sounds of a chicken. He never ever overcame that tragedy. He was stuck from that experience. None of us knew why Chicken Man went around with this picture and these little dolls.
A good question to ask before undertaking any project or setting any new objective, then, is what are the most important half-dozen things that will make the major difference in how it works out? So whether the enterprise is art or architecture, music or sculpture, mathematics or sports, business or farming, success or lifestyle, it's the fundamentals that count. To understand them and to practice them is to take the first intelligent step toward accomplishing your objectives and living your dreams. The second key word for us to consider is wealth. Wealth is a word that brings about a wide variety of mental images, and that is part of my purpose in these cassettes, to provoke that wide variety of mental images, for that is where the dreams are, that is where the inspiration comes from, and that is where true incentive is born. The mystery and mixture of mental image, the stuff and the staff of life. Its right use, its constant use is the way to a life unique and a life abundant. Now, to one, wealth means having enough financial substance to be able to do whatever you wish to do with your life. To another, it may mean freedom from debt, freedom from the constant claim of obligation. To yet another, it means opportunity. And to many, wealth means $1 million. That's a unique word, millionaire. It rings of success, freedom, power, influence, pleasure, possibility, benevolence, and excitement. Not a bad mental image.
If you look at the wall, you run into it. You cannot even look at the wall, you pull the steering wheel into the wall. So when there's a crash at 215 miles an hour and there's smoke everywhere, we are trained to drive right into the smoke. Can you imagine that? Imagine the fear level of driving into the smoke at 200 miles an hour when you know there are crashed cars in front of you. That's what you do as a driver to win. That's what you do as an entrepreneur to win. That's what they do as an entrepreneur. My beaver's like 110. All right, so you gotta be willing to drive in there. Here we go. You got 8 years left. Want to learn to bend time? You want some help with time? How do we manipulate those 8 years? Do you want to know yes or no? Okay, here's how you manipulate that time. Who says a day is 24 hours? Who says that? Someone just made that crap up. Why can't a day be 23 hours? Why can't a day be 8 hours? A day can be 8 hours, by the way. I started it 10 years ago. I run 8-hour days. People that are successful in a bigger hurry, they're faster. They walk faster, talk faster, they move faster. This is something you're going to need to adopt. You don't need to be loud and intense like me, but you gotta move, think, and walk and talk faster. Speed matters. So I run 8-hour days. My first day, you can do it however the heck you want, but my first day, I run 3 mini days. They're actually each 6 hours. My first day is from 6 a.m. to noon. That's a day. Have you ever had a day where you got more accomplished the first 3 hours than you do in a normal whole day? Yes or no? So did I. And I started thinking, well, then what the hell do I measure this stuff by 24 hours for? So many years ago, I went, my day is 6 a.m. to noon. I let the rest of the world have their day. I'm trying to run a whole day schedule of calls, appointments, contacts, meetings, executions, return of emails, whatever it is, from 6 a.m. to noon. That is the end of my day. Day 2 starts from noon to 6 p.m. That's my second day. I got 2 days now. My third day is from 6 p.m. until midnight. I run this cycle of days. I get 3 days a day. I calibrate time that way. I look at time that way. I execute that way. I crush you. You work 24-hour days, you're going to get slammed. In today's world, the speed of internet contacts, and you're going to compete against someone like me and the people I teach this to, which comes out on my YouTube video on Monday, so you're getting it first. You better start running mini days, especially those of you, by the way, who do this part-time. You need to really start to calibrate time the way I just told you. A day for you going forward is 6 a.m. to noon. Your second day is noon to 6 p.m. So if some of you are going to be at your job for the first 2 days, you got a brand new day when you leave there, and you're 6 p.m. to noon. If you're going to be a real entrepreneur, real part-time, you bend time. What that does for me is it allows me to measure myself every window, every day. At the end of that day, I measure and adjust and calibrate. I actually have a clock that goes off in my head every hour. To this day, top of every hour, what did I do to execute? What do I need to do to move closer to my goal? What do I need to do to change? It's a little psycho, but it's what I have. If you really want to win, you really want to be very wealthy, if you compete with 24-hour days, because here's what I get. By the time you've run 2 days, I've had 6. Stack up a normal week for you, and I get 21 days. Now stack up a month, stack up a year, stack up 3 years, stack up 5 years, stack up 10 years, and you go from Velcro Mercedes to all that shit you saw in the video.
The meaning we associate to things controls our entire lives. It's not that your mother or father died that's giving you suffering. Certainly that's painful. It's the meaning you think it shouldn't have happened. And when we take control of the meaning, it's the only thing we can control our lives. We can't control events. And we're living now where technology is happening so rapidly. It's magnificent what it does for our lives. But we all know with that technology, our psychology is not developing as rapidly. And as a result, the world's changing. And a lot of us that have learned to engage with technology use it to maximize, most people in this room. There's lots of people who use technology to disengage, to be harmful to themselves and to other people. It's not a one-way street. So I'm interested in how to maximize the psychology side. And that's why I'm sharing this with you. So you can increase both your leadership skill, but who do you have to lead first to be effective, my friends? Who? Yourself. And so good to see what's controlling you. Well, what I'm focusing on is controlling me. You can focus on something and make yourself crazy. You can focus on something and make yourself great. In this moment, you could be worried about Ebola, because we all know it's coming. People are freaked out all over the world. 36,000 people die a year of flu, and the whole world is focused on Ebola. Because the news is not designed to inform you, it is designed to startle you. Because that's how you sell things. So if you let someone else take control of your focus, your life will be in someone else's hands. So first decision is what you're going to focus. Second, meaning. My father that day focused on he had to take care of his family, and the meaning was, I know what it was because he said it out loud, that I'm worthless. And when you come up with a meaning, it produces an emotion. And if you and I want to look at the quality of our life, there's only a way to define it. One way, really, that's real. How do you feel every day? If every day of your life you got $1 billion and every day you feel guilty or angry, by the way, nothing worse than an angry rich man or woman. Isn't there? You just want to slap them, don't you? How do you have the right to be angry? They find a way. But if you got $1 billion and you're angry and you're pissed off and you're guilty all the time, what is the quality of your life? Angry, pissed off, and guilty.
Most of you have these stats, but I pulled them because I think they're interesting. Because I'm talking the Old Testament stuff, and you might say, well, that's outdated, and we don't need to hear that. These latest stats say 1,500 pastors leave the ministry permanently each month in America. 1,500 running out the door every month in America alone. That's a lot. Imagine 1,500 people leaving your church a month. 1,500 people, pastors a month. Hey, a month. 4,000 new churches start each year in America. 7,000 churches close each year. If you got 7,000 closing and 4,000 starting, that's them numbers. You've been hearing a lot about pastors and divorces, the big pastors, the big preachers. There's a lot being said about people getting divorced. Oh, bless God. Oh, see, because when you're big and you have a problem, it gets a lot of publicity and people get to tie in and talk about it like you're an anomaly and like you're an exception. Let me give you some reality check. 50% of pastors' marriages, 50% of pastors' marriages end in divorce. So it's not just the big ones you hear about. It's the little ones too. It's just that when you're big and you get a problem that little people have, they get to kill you for having it. 50%? Gosh, that seems like a lot. That seems like a whole lot of people. 80% of pastors spend under 15 minutes a day in prayer. Maybe that's some of the problem we have. And nearly 60% of pastors secretly want to get out of ministry, but have no way to sustain themselves aside what they're doing it for the binges. The passion is gone. The thrill is gone. They're in the middle of their lives. They can't start over in a new position. They've got too much titles and too much influence, and they're embarrassed quit, and they're hanging on by a thread. Those are huge statistics. And if those statistics are accurate, then you could assume that there is at least 10% of people in this room are sick of just, oh, praise the Lord. How you doing, friend? I'm doing good. How you doing, man?